Hello, everyone, and welcome to CB Talks, the podcast where we discuss the future of work, talent management, and innovation in recruitment practices. I'm Ricardo, founder of Cross Border Talents, and today I have the honor of hosting an incredibly inspiring guest, Zaynab Abdi. Zaynab, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and for being here to share your story and insights with us.
Thank you for hosting me.
So, where are you based today?
I am based in New York.
In New York?
New York City in the US, yes.
So we have a 5-hour time difference. I'm in Lisbon, so for me it's 3 in the afternoon. For you it would be 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Okay, so before we dive into the questions, let me take a moment to highlight some of the extraordinary milestones from your journey. Zaynab is a passionate advocate for social justice and global education. She collaborates with Nobel laureate Malala and is a frequent speaker at United Nations. She is also the author of the award-winning book Voice for Refugee, which received the Moonbeam Silver Award for the best graphic novel. Beyond her literary accomplishments, Zaynab has been recognized as an outstanding leader in the city of Minneapolis and at Columbia University, where she graduated from the CIPA program and received the prestigious 2023 Campbell Award for Exceptional Leadership. Throughout her career, Zaynab has dedicated herself to addressing critical issues, including the refugee crisis, combating Islamophobia and hate crimes against Muslim women, and advocating for girls' education. Her work empowers young people, giving them the tools and confidence to lead social change. Zaynab, your journey is truly extraordinary, and I'm certain our audience will find it as inspiring as I do. Shall we get started? It has been a long introduction. Sorry for that.
I'm excited. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, by the way.
My pleasure. So let's start with your book. Award-winning book, Voice for Refugee, has had a profound impact on its readers. What inspired you to write it, and how has your personal story shaped its narrative?
Mm-hmm. So Voice for Refuge was my first book that also was a graphic novel. I was able to have a collaborative book before with Malala on We Are Displaced. So I had 3 chapters in her latest book, and I was able to kind of like share my story. But that was only written, and I felt like people usually stop disconnecting with the authors and the storyteller because they cannot imagine what it looks like when I say I was celebrating Eid and how Eid is different than other celebration. When I talk about family setting, sometimes people, when they read family, they think about their own family, but not about what my family setting looked like and the house and stuff. So the graphic novel was basically an album picture that I wanted people around the world to be able to kind of know my story, my journey, but also like fly in time with me to be where I was and how I lived. And kind of like seeing the image of conflict and war and a revolution in the eye of a young kid. And I think that was like really important for me to have those images and pictures. So Voice for Refuge was that door opening to kind of like help people connect with the idea of like, this is who we are, this is our past, and the war and conflict was not only what's our identity. We had an identity before, and yes, being a refugee is one of the identities, but we also have a different voice of what that means and our hopes for future and what we wanted to achieve in the community. And I think that's what the book have done, is like having starting with the past and then continuing with what happened in the present, but also like bringing a new image and picture to the future.
And that's how you are creating impact. So you've been very active in empowering young people, helping them to share their stories and become leaders in their communities. What is your approach to motivating these youths, and what are some of the most meaningful results you've witnessed? Because are you traveling? Are you doing this remotely? How are you approaching them?
So I'm traveling to different states, and we have been locating schools and high schools that mainly have dominated of refugees, but also and immigrants, but also making sure that it's a diverse group. Like, let's say the Rohingya refugees are communities that people don't hear from them. Like a couple years ago, we talked about what happened in Myanmar and how the Rohingya refugee fled, but their story has never been heard. So that's why we have been identifying places that there are refugees who usually their stories are never been heard, or the communities have been just putting them in a box and identifying these communities. So we recorded over 140 stories from all over the world, and we made sure like we target underrepresented refugees schools and areas. One of the way of like doing that is by first me sharing my story. Like I think it's very biased when someone comes to a community and be like, you need to share, you need to talk, you need to express your voice, and you need to claim your power, when I don't do that. And that's how we try to shift the narrative. By first I started with that, and like using my journey as an example of how we could change different things by using our voices and stories to make shift in policies. And one of the things that we saw that was very powerful, that in Fargo, North Dakota, when we talked with the refugees and we told them about sharing their story, two of the students who shared their story in a book, they were able to use it in testimony as in one of the state bill that was about to pass against immigrants, and they were able to kind of overthrow that bill. So that was like very powerful to see young kids who we taught them to not only share their story, but also like understand that it's not just sharing your story to the world to feel sorry for you. You're sharing your story because you're claiming your voice, and you're using that to say enough is enough. This is who I am. We don't want other generation to go through this. So that was like really impactful to see young people to do it in different places, either through their state level, through their community when they see their communities being divided, also through their time when they want to like seek their voices when there's an election, in their school when they are running for student body presidents, when there's issues happening in the school. They bring so much beautiful and unique perspective, and I feel like a lot of artists around the world, they see like arts and exhibition and stuff is amazing, but when they see arts from people who've been through so much, is a different beautiful way of looking at things, because our imagine and our image to future and creativity is different than what normal people who never experienced things look like. And that's why the goal is like, I want them to use that power. Like tragedy happened to us, but it should not stop us there. How we could use this tragedy in a beautiful way to make an impact.
Claiming their voices, that's beautiful. So you are the trigger for them to see you as an example of sharing and not being ashamed of the story, but claiming their voice, and as you mentioned, not to be repeated. That's really powerful. So combating hate crimes and Islamophobia is a cornerstone of your work. What are the biggest challenges you face in this fight, and what can society do to support these efforts?
Yeah, when I was in Minnesota, like hate crimes has been at the rise. We've seen our mosque being bombed. We've seen like extremist people coming at hijabi women all over the state. We've seen women being attacked by knife or being shot. In 2015, like the first year when I was in the US, there was the incident of the two couples and the sister, the three kids who are in undergrad in that time, and they were shot by their neighbor. And that was like a big news all over the world. But as someone who was just in high school, that scared me a lot to see that someone just shoot these three people because he felt angry. And this was happened after like Charlie Hebdo incident in Paris. So there was a huge hate crime against Muslims for blaming them for everything. And I think people who lived in the US post 9/11 seen that in a mega attack, which is so many people have been just trying to blame them, including people who are non-Muslims, for somebody looking like Muslims. And we've seen that with the Sikh community facing many attacks for people mistaking them for being Muslim. And I think that had, like, we always been in the shadow of like, oh, you cannot talk about 9/11, like everyone is blaming you, the government. So people cannot even speak against that there is so much harm happening in our community. And law enforcement don't even take us seriously when we share that someone is stalking us or someone want to harm me. And like, it ended up being just another incident of someone being killed. Nobody even taking care of like the whole reports before. So that's why we really wanted to shift the idea of looking at hate crimes as like, oh, well, not anyone attacked you yet, so we don't want to take care of the hate crime as a crime because the crime never happened. But for a crime to happen, the stage of the crime has to be first the target, the hate, and the smaller steps until it becomes the bigger impact, the bigger effect. And we don't want another tragedy and number. So that's why we wanted to shift the language around hate crime, and we needed the government to be taken seriously. So I worked with this organization for 3 years on addressing a hate crime bill. The bill went back and forth from representatives and senators, and it's really sad to see that, as I said, like, government official, law enforcement, and individuals don't take the word hate crime seriously. Even though, like, we worked with so many communities who face hate, the Jewish community who face anti-Semitic, LGBT community who face homophobic attacks, immigrants, Asian community post-COVID, there was a huge hate against Asian community. So we made sure, unlike the Black community with anti-Black hates that's happening in the US. So we did not only focus on the Muslim community, we made sure like it's all of us in this, because if one of us is impacted, all of us are impacted. So that's why we needed to address hate in general. And the hard thing was people are not taking hate crimes seriously because they don't see it as an attack. And that's why we have been going back and forth. And then we shifted our strategy. We still worked on the bill, but we also wanted to educate communities, to bring people together, to understand our differences is not scary thing. It's our powerful. It's what makes us one. So between workshops and bills and bringing people together, that's how we try to address all those.
You just gave me the opportunity to an important segue, which is education. Education is central to your mission. So how do you see it transforming the lives of refugees and fostering a more inclusive society?
A lot of refugees, when they came here, like every individual I met and immigrants have been really incredible people. Either if they came in a young age, they're eager to learn, they want to do something. And despite society telling them this is their limit or their accent is going to not get them to certain places or work. And it's always difficult. It's always very difficult to make it up there being a refugee with an accent. I am one of those people. Like, I had to work so hard, not only in my education, in my work. Every time I have to prove myself that I'm capable. And I feel like there is always that, like, barriers and walls. But with educating people, not only immigrants and refugees, but also people around them, that they need to know the asset immigrants bring in their work, in their universities, in their community is very important. But also shifting the way of immigrants see themselves and their work in only, oh, I want to just get a degree and that's it. It's like they need to think about their education beyond that. It's like how you're also giving back to the community you're part with right now, but also your community back home. And I think that's one of my mission is like, I want many refugees to be able to say, I gain all this knowledge and education. I want to solve this world conflict that's happening. I want to solve this war. I want to solve climate change. I want to solve the agricultural disaster that happened back home in my country or other neighboring countries. I want him to use that education to be the change drive for so many issues globally.
You almost make it sound easy, what you do. I was, which is not. I was having a chat. So in our company, we have, I would say, 60% of our colleagues are within from Europe, and the remaining are coming from the different continents. And I was having a chat with one of our managers. She's not coming from Europe, and she's talking about the European mindset, which she was being very gentle when she was addressing this topic. She was saying, when you people say that this is hard, the definition of hard for you guys, it's a bit different for people that are running away from wars or have this running away from hate crime. So it's very powerful, the message that you are bringing, because you have been running until you get to the US. I really urge people to read your book, because it's very, very inspirational. But again, just a comment. You make it sound easy. It's not, and it gives us a lot to think about. So coming back to your journey, pretty sure you have come across stories of impact that left a mark on you. So is there one that you'd like to share with us? What lessons have you learned that could inspire others working in similar causes to join your cause, which should be our cause?
Yeah. I would say like one of the stories that like, and it's like a multiple stories that like really feels like heart touching, is like seeing young kids in high school. The moment like I tell them about the project, I share my story, and like them just running and saying, I never thought someone will value my experience. And they were like, thank you for giving me that space for me to be able to share. And that was like so beautiful, because we always been put in this bubble of like, we don't belong to some places, or like our stories are not relevant. And it's only for news channels, or as you mentioned earlier, there's the guilt behind being a refugee. It's like, well, you went through a war, for sure your country did a mistake, or like your people did a mistake for starting a war, or like why there was a war to start with. And there's that big guilt and shaming of being a refugee. And just seeing these little kids feeling that they're no longer ashamed of who they are, and like having that spark in their eyes of they could do something, is really beautiful. And seeing their stories of like what they want to do when they go back to Afghanistan, and what they want to do when they go back to Myanmar, or like other stories of people who fled Syria and talking about how their country was beautiful and they want to do some impact, and they want to be doctors so they could treat all people who have been attacked by the war and impacted, and just like all these beautiful dreams that I know for sure they will be able to do it. It's just like to see the drive within them, is that's the impactful thing. You could have impact when it comes to like measuring impact of like, oh, this person achieved this and this person achieved that, and that's beautiful, but that's not the impact we want to have. We don't want to have the singular story of success. We need to have the common story of success, and the common story of the success is the drive. It's like just like the candle. Once you light it, you want to make sure it never melts. And I feel like that's the important thing of like the more it melts, how you could replace that candle with another candle, another wax, so that never like stops from shining. And that's the success we think about, is like how every individual one sees their mission and their legacy that they want to leave, what they want to impact about, what the things they care about. It could be in an art, it could be in a sport, it could be in a science. They don't have to have the same pathway, but their drive should be the common drive of making impact.
So it's not the isolated successful cases that you are looking for. It's the common process that will lead to more and more reaching a better situation, and that's also very powerful. We see here in Portugal also some cases which are highlighted, which is amazing people that had tough lives and then became they are artists, they are athletes, they are lawyers, but that's the common process behind to empower more people to get there. That's I think that's the real power. So again, coming back to your work, which well, I'm Generation X, you are millennial.
Yeah.
So let's also involve in the discussion Generation Z. So your work involves empowering these different diverse groups, also including Generation Z, who often bring unique perspectives and expectations. How do you engage with this new generation effectively? And how do you navigate the challenge of working with different generations towards a common goal? How do you do this?
Yeah.
A lot of challenges, I can imagine.
It's definitely a lot. And it's like trying to also learn about Gen Z in the past couple of years has been like really fascinating. And I think Millennial has been trying to get into that Gen Z either through TikTok trends and stuff, trying to assemble as part of the Gen Z society. But definitely it's difficult. I think the way we think about life and experience, like Gen Z and Millennial could go through the same thing and come out of it in different way, which is very fascinating. When I see like my friends who either from Yemen or other places who are Gen Z compared to me, I feel like there is that different perspective of seeing the world. And I think that's when we need to shift things, especially currently I work with a lot of high schoolers, and these high schoolers are Gen Zs. So shifting the way we think about things of like, in more of like inspirational talk, like let's have this big title, big name. Gen Zs don't care about that much. They care about more of like who they could relate to, who they could understand, what's more of like trending. And I think that like, how could we bring the impact of social trending and social media at the same way of like think about what an inspiration means for them, who inspires them. And that's like right now we see like Greta Thunberg being like one of the young Gen Zs in the climate activism and looking at other people, and also shifting that they don't need to look for someone to start. And that's why like they need to be the first and inspiration for the Gen Zs. I want them to share their stories so they could be the first for others to see, okay, oh my God, this person is like cool and this person is this. And like, and I feel like Gen Zs are non-judgmental compared to other generations, and that helps a lot of young people to feel okay to share their stories. I seen it in TikTok where someone just comes out and shares something, and everyone in the comments are amazingly supportive, and they'd be like, "You slay," and "Who's that diva?" And I was like, "Wow, I needed that generation in my time." And I think they have that platform of supporting one another, and there is less shaming of bringing who you are in a real life. And I think shifting that to make sure like people know that there is already a supportive society, and you need to just bring the raw, the beautiful you. And some of that could be bring those topics about immigration, refugees on. Like we had an election in the US, and now we have an administration that has been talking about deporting all illegal immigrants, but what that means for undocumented immigrants, what that means for children who born in the US but their parents are undocumented, the whole separation of family happening again and again. And it's really scary, and I want the young people to be able to take those platforms on social media to stop this, even if it has to be this another trending things that pressure the government, pressure everyone. And I've been thinking about like if the presidents took an office and start the order of deporting everyone, what's my role as an immigrant who's a U.S. citizen? What can I do? Should we have like a wall of humans on the borders, stopping anyone from being deported, stopping any car that we know it could be a car being deported? What could we do to stop? And I feel like we really could do a lot, and it's just like we need everyone to be in the table of that. And I feel like this is a moment where Gen Zs need to shine and be loud, because this is not only an issue related to immigrants and refugees, it's an issue impacting all of us. Because if one community is being attacked by unfair policy, then other communities will be attacked following that.
Well, Zaynab, you are doing a lot, so you have claimed your voice, and now you are empowering others to do the same. So yeah, I know that you when you were in Lisbon, one of the things that you said at the historical conference was that step out of your comfort zone. It's not only to be empathic, you need to act, and that's also a very important thing to do. We can do a lot of likes on social media, but you need to join. You need to join. You need to act. So what you mentioned is very graphic, a bit like your novel, putting people at the borders to stop deportation. Yeah, it's a scary world, but we need to continue navigate. It has been scary in the past. It will be scary in the future. So we do our part. We do our part to make it a better one. We'll be wrapping up in a couple of minutes, roughly 5, just to say that in our company at Cross Border Talents, we have a very diverse team of professionals working remotely across all continents, helping people to find their dream jobs. From your experience in working with diverse global groups, what advice would you give to organizations like ours to foster inclusion, collaboration, and a shared purpose in such a multicultural environment? So, what would be your advice?
Yeah, my advice would be making like there is really everyone go through the same difficulties when it comes to finding job, finding their dream job, or even a job. And then immigrants and refugees go trouble of that difficulties. And I feel like organization like you guys are doing an amazing job with tackling countries and places. But if there is a space within your organization that focuses on displaced immigrants, refugee, to help them navigate their spaces as they come in, will be really fantastic. I know with my current company right now, we have been working on this called Empowering New Beginnings, which is helping refugees who came to the US to be able to learn about how their rights, how to apply for jobs, resume building, connecting them to organizations, how to apply for benefits in the US, what things are out there for them, and like um, giving them trauma workshop, youth empowerment, so many different layers of workshop to help them to know that they're not alone in this journey. And organization like you and many other organizations, if they have that section, because inclusive and excellence is one thing, but like creating also space for the most vulnerable communities to be able to get through stages in life is really important. And one of the thing I was tell you, I know I have my friends and my family, and everyone was like, oh my God, you're a wonderful individual. You have done a lot. Every company would love to hire you. No, that's a lie. I've been rejected thousands times. And even though I have a great platform and I have a great resume, high GPA and like awards and everything, it's still there's that biases by companies when they see an immigrant and refugee. It does not matter. I know Malala, I worked with her and everything. The bias still exists there. And that's why it's like really difficult for people to make it who are immigrants and refugees, because not they're not capable. They're wonderfully capable. It's the other side of the organization that is not capable of understanding this individual asset is so unique, and that uniqueness should not scare them, but should make sure that like it brings a different asset to them.
I totally understand what you're saying. So you have the platform, but then you still struggle in the end because then your platform is no longer required, because then it's a different discussion. So I do believe there's a lot of space for, well, at least from my company, to engage with yours, to do more, and also that we can use other companies' examples to do the same and empower other companies to foster more integration. I keep repeating this in the podcasts that we have done in the past. This is our fourth, so I'm very happy that you are attending, because in the end, every Friday we do what we call an happy hour talk, where we join 50 nationalities, and then we celebrate the diversity. And this is really what, in the end, makes us happy in the end of the week, because we are celebrating not only the success of the results that we are having, but guys, what are you doing in Brazil? What are you doing in Chile? What are you doing in Indonesia? What are you doing now in Germany? And this is to make this diversity part of our lives is crucial. And I digress. I'm just happy that we are having this chat, and that the next steps between my company and your current organization, what we can do also to improve integration. It will make me extremely happy. It has been a privilege to hear your story and learn from your experiences. Thank you for inspiring us with your work, leadership, and commitment to such important causes. I'm sure many of our listeners will leave this conversation feeling motivated to make a difference. If anyone would like to learn more about your work or connect with you, where can they find you, Zaynab?
Yeah, please, you could learn about my work by Googling me. There is so much articles and my books out there, but also I'm in LinkedIn, so Zaynab Abdi -1. So please feel free to follow me. I post some of my work there, but I'm always happy to connect with everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Zaynab. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Don't forget to follow CB Talks for more inspiring conversations like this one. So see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice one.
Thank you.